Let's go over section 1.2. Example 1. If a train travels at 100 miles per hour for 12 minutes, what is the distance traveled? In this question, we have a problem. This is in minutes. I need to figure out how many hours 12 minutes is equivalent to. To do this, we'll take 12 minutes and we'll multiply by a unit fraction. A unit fraction is essentially a fraction that is equal to 1. I know 1 hour is equal to 60 minutes. And if I multiply 12 by 1, it doesn't change anything. So that's why we use a unit fraction, which value is 1, so we can convert 12 minutes to hours. Notice the minutes do cancel out, and I have 12 divided by 60. This is equivalent to 0.2 hours. So I know 12 minutes is 0.2 hours. And to find the distance traveled, it's equal to the rate times the time. We know the rate is actually 100 miles per hour. And we know the time is 0.2. So we can multiply 100 times 0.2. And this gives me 20 miles. So we know that this train is going to travel 20 miles in 12 minutes. Example 2. If $380 is invested for 1 year at 11% simple interest, how much interest is earned? The interest formula is equal to I, P, R, T, where P is the principal. In this case, the principal is $380. We're going to multiply that by the interest rate, 0.11. Remember, we have to convert 11% to 0.11. Now we're going to multiply that by the time. Now, how much interest is earned? We're talking about 1 year, so T is equal to 1. Let's multiply this out. And I have 41.8. So my answer is going to be $41.80. We're going to earn $41.80 of interest in just 1 year. Example 3. A jar contains 10 half dollars and 200 quarters. What is the monetary value of the coins? Well, we know we have 10 half dollars, so that's 50 cents each. And then I'm going to add 200 quarters, which is 25 cents each. So we just have to come up with this expression. 10 times 0.5, that's $5 worth of half dollars. And then 200 times 0.25. That's going to give us $50 worth of quarters. And so my final answer is 55. So it is $55. That's our final answer to this question. Example 4. The difference between 8 times a number and 7 is equal to 4 times the sum of the number and 2. Find the number. So in this question, we just want to find the equation. Now let's see. It says the difference, so I know that's subtraction, between 8 times a number, so that's 8x, and 7, so that's the number 7, equals 4 times, so we know it's 4 times something, the sum of a number and 2. So we know this is going to be x plus 2. So which one has a minus sign and an 8x and a 7? Well, that's going to be either of these options. But the one that has the 4 times x plus 2, it's got to be either A or B. So let's figure out which one it is. It says the difference between 8 times a number and 7. So 8x should be first, and there you go. So that means it's got to be B. Example 5. A number is 5 less than 6 times a second number. Their sum is 84. If x represents the second number, which equation is the correct equation? Alright, so let's see. It says 5 less than 6 times a number, or 6 times a second number. So I know this is 6x minus 5 because it's 5 less than, so we're going to subtract from 6 times a second number, and their sum is 84. The sum is 84. So we're going to add x to this, and we should get 84, and that looks like B. B is the correct choice for this question. In example 6, a rectangle has a width of 48 centimeters. So let's draw a picture so we can interpret this question. And a perimeter of 212 centimeters. What is the rectangle's length? Well, the perimeter of a rectangle is going to be 2L plus 2W. Now I know the width is 48, so I can plug that into the formula. What's the length? We don't know what the length is, but I do know the width is both 48. So let's figure out what else we know. We know the perimeter is 212. So I can write 212 equals 2 times the length, since we're plugging it into this formula, plus 2 times the width, which is 48. Now let's multiply 2 times 48. That's 96. That gives me 96. And now I have to solve for L. Let's subtract 96 to both sides. That gives us 116 equals 2L. Now I can divide both sides by 2. And that gives us L equals 58. And we know the units is in centimeters. So the answer is 58 centimeters. Example 7. Two sides of a triangle have the same length. The third side measures 2 meters less than twice the common length. So let's call this x since they have the same length. And then the third side we said is 2 meters less than twice the common length. So let's say that's 2x minus 2, twice the 2x, and then 2 less than that. The perimeter is 14. Now the perimeter is going to be all of the sides added together, and we know the perimeter is equal to 14 meters, so let's plug in 14 into that, and we'll simplify the right side. I got x, x, and 2x. That gives me 4x minus 2. Let's add the 2 to both sides. That gives me 16 equals 4x. Now I can divide both sides by 4. X equals 4. So that tells me this has to be 4 meters because that's x, and this has to be 4 meters also because that's x. And that is what we're looking for in the question. What's the length of the two sides that have the same length? They are 4 meters each. Example 8. Margaret drove to a business appointment at 90 miles per hour. Her average speed on the return trip was 80 miles per hour. The return trip took 1/4 hour longer because of heavy traffic. How far did she travel to the appointment? Now recall the distance formula. It is equal to rate times time, so all I gotta do is multiply across. That's gonna give me 90x. Multiply across, that's 80 times x plus 1/4. Now the distance there and the distance back is the same, so these two right here, I can say they're the same. Let's set those equal to each other. So we'll say 90x equals 80 times x plus 1/4. We'll gotta start by distribution of that 80. That's 80x plus 20. 80 times 1/4 is 20. Now we can subtract 80x to both sides. And I have 10x equals 20. Let's divide both sides by 10. And so x equals 2. Now this is going to be 2. To what though? We're talking about a distance. How far does she travel? So this is 2 miles. Example 9. 2 high-speed ferries leave at the same time from a city to go to the same island. The first ferry, the cat, travels at 38 miles per hour. The second ferry, the bird, travels at 24 miles per hour. In how many hours will the two ferries be 28 miles apart? Alright, let's give this a try. First, we'll make a table. We have the cat, and then we have the bird. Let's look at the rate, time, and distance. Now we know the first ferry travels at 38 miles per hour, so this would be 38. The bird travels at 24 miles per hour, that would be 24. Now we don't know the time, so let's call that x, and we'll call that x as well because we don't know the time for them. Now we can multiply straight across to find the distance. We have 38x and 24x. Now we know the distance is not the same because one of them goes faster. So we'll set up an equation. Remember, we want to know when the distance is 28 miles apart. So we're going to take 38x and subtract 24x from it to find out when they are 28 miles apart. So I took their distance and subtracted, and I want to know when it's equal to 28. 38 minus 24, it's 14x, and that's equal to 28. Let's divide both sides by 14. I have x equals 2. So I know it's going to take 2 hours for these two ferries to be 28 miles apart. And we could double check that. We can multiply 38 times 2 and 24 times 2 and then subtract their distance. Is it 28 miles apart? And yes, it is. So we know we did this right. Example 10. How many quarts of pure antifreeze must be added to 6 quarts of 10% antifreeze to obtain 40% of antifreeze solution? Now let's create ourselves a table. Now I know there's several different strengths of antifreeze. There's the 100% strength. There is the 10% strength. And then we want to end up with the 40% strength. Now 10% is equivalent to 0.1 as a decimal, and 40% is equivalent to 0.4. 100% is equivalent to 1. Now I don't know how many liters of 100% solution we need, but we want to add X amount of that. We want 6 quarts of the 10%, so that's 6 quarts. And now since we're making a 40% solution, this has to be X plus 6, because that's the total from the 100% strength plus the 10% strength of antifreeze solution. Now we'll look at the pure antifreeze. Now if it's 100% concentration, that means this is going to be X amount of antifreeze. Now this right here is a 10% amount, a 10% solution of antifreeze. So we're going to multiply 6 times 0.1 to get the amount of pure antifreeze. Now for the bottom, it's a 40% solution, so we know this is 0.4 times x plus 6. Now we could set up an equation. We know if we add the 100% with the 10%, we get the same amount for the 40%. So let's write our equation. I have x plus 6 times 0.1 equals 0.4 times x plus 6. Let's simplify. This is x plus 0.6 equals, we'll distribute, 0.4x plus 2.4, and now we could solve for x. Let's subtract 0.4x to both sides, and then we'll also subtract 0.6 to both sides. These two cancel out. I get 0.6x equals 1.8. Let's divide both sides by 0.6. That gives me 3. So I know that I need 3 liters of 100% antifreeze to get that 40% mixture that I want. Example 11. In planning her retirement, Liza deposits some money at 4% interest with twice as much deposited at 5%. Find the amount deposited at each rate if the total annual interest income is $2,100. Let's start by making a table. Now, in this case, there was several different interest rates. We had the 4% interest rate and the 5% interest rate. Now, the principal amount for the 4% is unknown. They said some money, so we'll say she put X amount of money at 4%. The 5% is twice that amount, so let's call that 2X since it's twice. Now our rate R is the interest, so that's 0.04 as a decimal, and 5% is 0.05 as a decimal. Now in each of these cases, we're talking about 1 year, so the time is just 1 year for both of these accounts. Now the interest rate, remember, is principal times rate times time. And so now we can use this to find the interest. We have this is 0.04x by multiplying straight across, and this is going to be equivalent to 0.1x if I multiply straight across. Now we'll have to come up with an equation. We know that the total amount is 2,100. So I can say 0.04x plus 0.1x has to be equal to $2,100. If I add 0.04x plus 0.1x, I get 0.14x equals 2,100. Now let's divide both sides by 0.14 to solve for x. That gives me x equals $15,000. So that tells me at 4% she put $15,000. And at 5%, it's going to be double that. So at 5%, we're going to double that amount. She's going to deposit $30,000 at 5% interest. So those are our two solutions, $15,000 at 4% interest and $30,000 at 5% interest. Example 12. Membership warehouse clubs offer shoppers low prices along with rewards of cash back on club purchases. If the yearly fee for a warehouse club membership is $100 and the reward rate is 2% on club purchases for the year, the linear equation is given by y equals 100 minus 0.02x models the actual yearly cost of the membership, Y, in dollars. Here X represents the yearly amount of club purchases, also in dollars. In part A, determine the actual yearly cost of a membership if the club purchases for the year are $1,500. What I need to do is use this formula and plug in X of $1,500. We have 100 minus 0.02 times 1,500. Now this is just a calculator question, so please plug it into your calculators and check with me to make sure your answer is correct. And this gives us $70. We know if you spend $1,500, you'll actually be paying $70 for that membership. Let's look at part B. What amount of club purchases would reduce the actual yearly cost of the membership to $33? So in this case, instead of plugging in 33 for X, we're plugging in 33 for Y. So we have 33 equals 100 minus 0.02 times X. Now let's solve for X. We'll subtract 100 to both sides. I get negative 67 equals negative 0.02x. And then we'll divide both sides by negative 0.02. Here, x is equal to $3,350. $3,350. So I need to spend $3,350 at this club so that the annual club membership fee is only $33. That's a lot of money. Let's look at part C. How much money would a member have to spend in a yearly club purchases to reduce the membership to 0? So this time I'm replacing Y with 0. In part C, we'll replace Y with 0, and we get 100 minus 0.02 x. Let's solve for x. Subtract 100 to both sides. Now I can divide both sides by negative 0.02. Let's solve for x. And this gives me $5,000. I have to spend $5,000 so that yearly club membership is reduced to 0. Now we have to wonder, is that club membership worth it? We have to spend $5,000 just to break even with that membership fee.